Hey there, I'm going to be showing you some of my favorite ways on how to use canned biscuit dough today. All of these recipes are very easy and delicious, but anyways, let's get to cooking. We're starting out with some empanadas. This is one of my husband's all-time favorites, and I love this recipe because it is really easy for me to throw together. So to my Dutch oven, I have a pound of ground beef along with 1 onion that I diced into smaller pieces. It's just a white onion. Now that the ground beef is cooked through and I drained all of the excess grease, I added in 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning and about 2 tablespoons of water. I'm just going to stir this to combine. Over to my cutting board, I have my 8 biscuits on there, and I'm just going to roll them out as thin as I possibly can. You see there's a little bit of flour on the cutting board as well. It's just to ensure that the biscuits won't stick to the cutting board. Now we're going to add our filling. For my filling, I'm choosing to use, it's just some Colby Jack cheese and then that ground beef mixture that we made up. Of course, add whatever you like to the inside of this biscuit dough, but this is just my favorite combination. I sealed the seam by adding a little bit of water and then I'm pressing it down with a fork. These bake in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 24 to 28 minutes or until they are a nice golden brown like this. Here is my plate of empanadas. I just served mine with some cilantro and some salsa, but you could use whatever fixings you like to have with your empanadas, like guacamole, sour cream, or anything of that nature. These are so good. Now we're going to be making these cheese bombs. These are perfect for appetizers, side dishes, the Super Bowl, or anything like that. So to my parchment paper lined cookie tray, I just added my can of biscuits, and you see me flattening these out. I'm just flattening them out to the best of my ability with my hands. For the cheese that I am using, it's just some of this fresh mozzarella cheese. Use any type of mozzarella cheese you care for. Even pepper jack cheese would be delicious. Anyways, I'm just wrapping the dough around the cheese and then I'm using my fingers to create a pretty tight seal around the bottom just to ensure that the cheese doesn't fall out while it's baking. This bakes in a preheated oven to 400 degrees for about 12 to 18 minutes. While that is in the oven baking, I'm going to begin on this amazing butter sauce. I have 4 tablespoons of melted butter in this bowl. I added a teaspoon of Italian seasoning and a teaspoon of some garlic powder along with a pinch of salt. I'm just going to mix this mixture all together. So now that the rolls are out of the oven and they are a nice golden color, I'm just going to brush that delicious butter on the tops of all of these rolls. I am going to be pretty generous with it. Here is the finished product. These cheesy rolls are amazing, served with some warm marinara sauce to dip them in. These are so yummy. They're a really fun side dish to go along with your dinner or appetizer or snack. These are delicious. This apple caramel pull-apart bread is perfect for breakfast or dessert. To get this one started, I have 1 Granny Smith apple. I'm just going to cut it up into smaller pieces. You pretty much just want about a cup of this. To make the filling in a smaller sized bowl, you're going to add 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of regular sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a pinch of salt. You're just going to mix it together. To my cutting board, I have my can of biscuits right here that I just have out. I'm just going to be cutting each biscuit in half through the layers like this, so it's pretty much going to look like 2 biscuits. You're going to do this because it's going to add more emphasis on all of the yummy filling. So now I have about 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm just brushing it on each side of these biscuit halves. One of the last steps you're going to do is dip these biscuits on both sides in that brown sugar cinnamon mixture we made up, and then you're going to create a few stacks on your cutting board. You're going to add apples in between each layers and just layer these up. I have a greased 9x5 loaf pan right here. I'm just going to add my biscuit stacks to it on the side. This is going to bake in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 38 to 40 minutes. Here is the finished product. I just drizzled mine with some caramel, powdered sugar, and then some more apple slices. This is so good. It just pulls apart. It is so simple to make, and seriously, it's one of my family's favorite desserts. For this breakfast casserole, it is perfect for a busy week. You could prepare it beforehand and then just eat it throughout the week. To get it started, I'm just going to cook up 1 pound of some sausage in my pot. Now that my sausage is completely cooked, it left over quite a bit of some grease, so I'm just removing it with a paper towel. You could do as you please with the grease, but this is my favorite way of removing excess grease. Here's the package of the biscuits that I've been using, these Pillsbury Original Grands. I'm just taking them out of the packaging, and you're going to want to cut each of these biscuits into 8 pieces. That does seem quite small, but you got to trust me, these really do fluff up in the end. To my 9x13 baking dish, I'm just going to spray it with some of this avocado oil nonstick spray. And now I'm just adding our biscuit pieces to that. I'm going to try to spread them out as even as possible. Of course, they will not be perfect. So now with our sausage that we cooked up, I'm just sprinkling it right on top. And then you're going to want to add some cheese. I'm choosing to use about 1.5 cups of some Colby Jack cheese, but you could use pepper jack, mozzarella, any type of cheese that you love, go ahead and use. I'm going to set this to the side, and now we're going to whip up our eggs. So I'm adding 6 eggs to this bowl. I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of milk with a little bit of pepper. I'm not adding any salt into these eggs because this dish will be salty enough with the sausage and the gravy. So just whisk this all together. And now we're going to work on our gravy. I just have this country gravy mix right here. I'm adding it to this bowl, and then you're going to add 2 cups of water and whisk this all together. Back over to the casserole, I'm going to pour the eggs on top, followed by the gravy. You're going to cover this with some aluminum foil and bake this in the oven on 350 degrees for about 45 to 55 minutes. Here's the finished product. This casserole is so filling and it has a ton of flavor. This is my husband's plate. I just drizzled it with some hot sauce because he loves eggs and hot sauce. I really think you would enjoy this breakfast casserole. Now we're making some of my all-time favorite cinnamon rolls. You really gotta trust me when I say I love this recipe. It is so good. So with my can of cinnamon rolls, I'm just going to leave them out on my countertop for about 15 minutes. So when I go to roll them, they are not as cold. We're gonna begin to work on the frosting now. This frosting is definitely optional, but it's my favorite type of frosting to use with this recipe. To my electric mixer, I added 6 ounces of softened cream cheese, 1/3 cup of softened butter, and I'm going to whip these 2 ingredients together. Now that those 2 ingredients are well combined, you're going to add your 1 out of 2 cups of powdered sugar in, along with about 1/2 tablespoon of some vanilla extract. Mix these ingredients together. Once they are mixed together, you're going to add your 2nd cup of powdered sugar in. Once again, mix everything together, and then your frosting is complete. Now that my biscuits are not as cold as they were before, you see me just kind of pinching them together, and then you're going to roll them out as thin as you possibly can. You see me pinching the edges together while I do this. This is going to create one larger sized dough. To work on the cinnamon roll filling, in the smaller sized bowl, I added 1/4 cup of some sugar with about 1.5 teaspoons of some cinnamon. You're going to mix these ingredients together. Now that my dough is as thin as I could possibly get it, I'm just going to be brushing a tablespoon of some melted butter on top. Once I did brush that out as even as possible, I'm going to be adding our cinnamon and sugar mixture. Again, I'm going to try to pour that on and spread it out as even as possible. Now that I am through rolling up our dough like this, I'm just going to spray my pan with some of this avocado oil nonstick spray. You do want to make sure you do that. And then for our cinnamon rolls, these made 15 cinnamon rolls. They will look smaller, but you gotta trust me, they do puff out really large in the end. This is gonna bake in a preheated oven to 375 degrees for about 18 to 20 minutes. Here are my cinnamon rolls out of the oven. They have a nice, beautiful golden color. Just add your frosting on top as soon as they're out of the oven, so all of the frosting melts down and gets into all of the nooks and crannies. These cinnamon rolls are no joke. They are so good. If you're wanting to make homemade cinnamon rolls, I've been craving them for the longest time. This recipe is a must try. It is so simple to throw together, and that's one of my favorite parts, and they definitely taste like you've been working in the kitchen for hours on them. And that is a wrap of this video today. I hope you enjoyed it and found a recipe that you might be able to make yourself. If you are new to my channel, we would really love to have you here, so go ahead and subscribe down below the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.